For many hikers, campers, and outdoor enthusiasts, the summer season has been a rough one. Just this summer alone, dozens of people have vanished under the strangest of circumstances. Despite modern-day technology and coordinated efforts of thousands of professional searchers and volunteers, many of these folks will never be found. For the friends and families of those missing, they will never find closure. Join me as I count down 10 more of the strangest national park missing person cases out there. Before we get underway, I thought I'd update you on the case mentioned in my previous video. Last June, a 26-year-old man named Colin Everett vanished inside the Palisades Interstate Park. About a month later, a body was found about a quarter mile north of State Line Lookout within the park and in a very remote area. The victim was believed to have been in a fenced-off area closed off to the public and away from main trails when the victim plummeted to the cliff ledge below. Paramus and Parkway police are investigating to determine the identity of the deceased. A cause of death is still pending. I'll keep you updated when or if the results are ever released. Number 10. On June 24, 2010, Bill Ewasko, a 65-year-old businessman from Marietta, Georgia, arrived in Joshua Tree National Park. He had planned multiple day hikes and gave his wife a list of trails he was attempting to hike. But when Bill failed to call his wife by the next morning, she notified park authorities. A few days later, a search helicopter spotted his rental car at the Juniper Flats Trailhead parking area. Juniper Flats was the starting point for one of Bill's planned destinations to Quail Mountain. Based on statements from another hiker, Bill's car had been left there sometime between 10:30 a.m. and 6 p.m. on 6/24. Search teams assembled at this location and headed out that night. The last sign of Bill was a ping from a cell phone at 6:50 a.m. on Sunday, June 27th. This ping registered the phone as being 10.6 miles away from the Sarin Drive cell tower in Yucca Valley, California. Because there is only one cell tower, it is impossible to know exactly where Bill was. Over the next week, rescue teams using dogs and horses covered 800 miles of ground and also received support from multiple aircraft. On July 5th, the official search was called off. The search turned up nothing except for a red bandana, which was never confirmed as having belonged to Bill. Bill was a Vietnam vet, experienced hiker, and in excellent condition, according to friends and family. Bill's disappearance is one of many who have vanished inside the park and has never been found. Number 9. Also in the summer of 2010, the Genevieve County Sheriff's Office received a call about a vehicle parked for several days inside Hahn State Park. When officers ran the license plate, the car was registered to that of a missing 35-year-old woman from Scott County named Michele Irene Boyd. Immediately afterward, approximately 80 firefighters and other emergency personnel became involved in the search for her. Based on the location of the car, authorities believe Michele had gone walking on a nearby trail, which is where they focused their efforts. Searchers say a yellow lab from Eureka Search and Rescue found the body after 2 p.m. the following day about a half a mile from her car. The woman was found so far off the main trail and in extremely rough terrain that authorities believed she would have never been located had it not been for the search dog. Investigators were unable to determine the cause of death, yet ruled out suicide or foul play as a contributing factor. What's strange about this case is that there have been little to no updates following her disappearance since 2010. In fact, I was unable to find a picture of the woman after numerous online attempts. To this day, her cause of death still remains a mystery. Number 8. On May 14th, 2008, Brandon Swanson, aged 19, was headed to Marshall, Minnesota. Sometime while driving his car, it crashed into a ditch, leaving it temporarily immobilized. Brandon ended up calling his parents and asked them to come pick him up, and even though they went looking for him, they were unable to find him. After his father called him back, Brandon said that he would head to the nearby town of Lind so that it would be easier to locate him. In the middle of the conversation, however, the call was suddenly cut off. The police were notified, and soon thereafter they found his car, but they never located him or his cell phone. Phone records later showed that the teen was nowhere near Lind, where he told his parents he would be. His cell phone calls were traced to a tower 20 miles away in Minnesota. It is speculated that he may have drowned in a nearby river, but no trace of his body was ever found, despite extensive search and rescue efforts. Brandon vanished near the Upper Sioux Agency State Park located near the Yellow Medicine River in Minnesota. He was just finishing up his last day of classes at Minnesota West Community and Technical College when he disappeared. Number 7. In June of 2011, a hiker mysteriously vanished inside Yosemite National Park after failing to return from a day hike he was on with members from his church. 30-year-old George Penka was thought to have ventured into Upper Yosemite Fall Trail, or any trail between Yosemite Valley and Tioga Road. A full-scale operation was initiated on June 18th, including approximately 105 search and rescue personnel from around the state. Agencies involved in the search included about a dozen different groups from Yosemite National Park Search and Rescue, Inyo County, Mono County, Mariposa County, Marin County, Fresno, China Lake, Los Angeles, Nevada, and several others, just to name a few. But after several days of an intense, extensive search, nothing turned up and the search was eventually scaled down. 3 weeks after his disappearance, the search was concluded altogether. After 5 years, there is still no trace of George. His disappearance is joined by countless others in the Yosemite area, some of which I've covered in previous videos. Number 6. In October of 1984, a 3-year-old girl named Laura Bradbury vanished inside Joshua Tree National Park in Arizona. The 3.5-year-old disappeared from Indian Cove Campground in the park during a family camping trip. The girl accompanied her 8-year-old brother to the portable restrooms near the campsite. He went inside one of the restrooms while she waited outside, but when he came out seconds later, his sister was gone. Within a day of her disappearance, about 250 searchers along with horses, dogs, and helicopters had spread out across what was then Joshua Tree National Monument, scouring the ravines and maze-like interior of the nearby wonderland of rocks, but Laura was never located. Mike Bradbury, the girl's father, accompanied a bloodhound that followed what was then believed to be tracks from Laura's flip-flops for about 2 miles before the dog lost the scent. 3 days after she vanished, the county sheriff's department called off the wide-scale search. A couple years later, in 1986, a girl's skull was found in the region, but upon further examination, it did not belong to Laura according to dental records and forensic analysis. Even after 25 years since her disappearance, Mike Bradbury continues to search for the truth of what happened to his daughter. There are a lot of parallels between this case and another one that took place in 2015 inside the Chiricahua National Monument, also in Arizona. A 44-year-old woman named Janet Casterton vanished outside of a restroom while waiting for a family member and has never been found. Number 5. In the summer of 1999, a 34-year-old man named Joe Wood, a book editor from New York, disappeared during an afternoon hike on Mount Rainier. He was in town for an important conference and had arrived early, so he traveled out to Rainier and decided to do some bird watching a day before the meeting, but he never left the park. Friends and those expecting him reported him missing, and a search party was conducted involving hound dogs, rangers, volunteers, and 2 helicopters. That same night, a national tragedy occurred when JFK Jr.'s plane disappeared. Unfortunately, this directed a lot of media attention away from Joe Wood, and news of his disappearance was spread thin. His search was eventually suspended after weeks, and to this day he is still missing. This is not the first time anyone has disappeared on that mountain. According to some estimates, there are approximately 50 people still missing in that region. Number 4. On June 18th of this year, the Grand Canyon Regional Communications Center received a call reporting a 52-year-old hiker missing in the extreme western portion of the Grand Canyon near the Parashant National Monument. Floyd Roberts III was last seen wearing a red long-sleeved shirt, blue jeans, multicolored mesh Nike sneakers, a blue Alpine backpack, and white-rimmed sunglasses with orange lenses. Roberts and his party were on day 1 of a 3-day backpacking trip. The responding resources included 7 ground teams and a National Park Service helicopter. Searchers from Grand Canyon Parashant National Monument and Mojave County helped aid in the search for Roberts. But despite these combined efforts and the bright clothing that he was last seen wearing, he is yet to be found. The area the team was searching is rugged and covered in thick brush. Transportation to the area takes several hours. The area he disappeared in is a region most people would avoid for safety reasons, and searchers are baffled how anyone would enter these areas at all. In the 2 months since his disappearance, search efforts have been greatly reduced, yet there are still a handful of people looking and keeping the case active. Number 3. In March of 2014, a 39-year-old Indiana man named Dr. James McGrogan disappeared after becoming separated from fellow hikers during a hiking trip near Vail, Colorado. He and an experienced group of hikers were on their way to a backcountry hut. Search crews spent a combined 1,000 hours searching for the missing doctor, but bad weather complicated search efforts. And after several days, the search and rescue mission became a recovery one. Then on April 3rd, a couple weeks after he vanished, Eagle County Sheriff's Department received a report of a deceased male located near the Booth Falls area north of Vail, Colorado. The reporting party, a group of backcountry skiers, told authorities they located the deceased individual in an ice fall below Booth Falls. Authorities confirmed the identity of the body to be that of McGrogan, who was found 4.5 miles from the trail he disappeared. Eagle County coroner stated that the 39-year-old died of multiple injuries, including head trauma. His death has been ruled an accident, but I decided to include this case because there are a number of strange factors surrounding his death that many media outlets failed to address. His body was found in an extremely rugged area far off course from the hiker's intended destination. And again, like many other cases, he was found without any shoes. David Paulides, an investigative journalist, highlights this case in his Missing 411 series. You can check out this case and many more like it at www.canammissing.com. Number 2. In July of 1995, a 32-year-old German exchange student living in California named Martin Knapp set out on a 20-mile solo hike through the Trinity Wilderness. Though it is unclear which trail he specifically ventured onto, he told a friend that he would depart from one of several hikes in the Trinity Divide region and would return within 3 days' time. Well, those 3 days came and went, but Martin never returned to the agreed meeting spot. The friend waited several hours before calling the authorities to report him missing. The night he disappeared, dozens of park rangers and volunteers gathered to coordinate a search and rescue effort. On the second day of the hike, search dogs picked up a scent leading into a well-traveled canyon where they found Martin's Walkman cassette player approximately 10 miles from where he began his hike. The next day, hikers called park officials to report that they found some scattered belongings that they thought belonged to the missing man about 3 miles from the Walkman. Some of these items included a pair of hiking boots, sweatband, a broken hunting knife, and a used first aid kit. Family members confirmed that they belonged to Martin. This reinvigorated search efforts, but after 2 weeks, no other trace was ever found. What's really sad about this case is that it was given very little media coverage, and given how long it's been since his disappearance, information on this case is very difficult to find. Martin is just one of many hikers to vanish in what some are calling the never-ending sea of wilderness. Number 1. On July 27th of this year, a 21-year-old hiker named Riley Zickel vanished in the Jefferson Wilderness area near the Willamette National Forest in Oregon. He was last seen hiking the Pacific Crest Trail north of Jefferson Park when he spoke to another hiker that same day. Approximately 400 searchers spent over 5,000 hours in a 7-day period looking for Riley before suspending the search. Search and rescue crews from more than 10 agencies across the state assisted in the search, using helicopters and contacting hundreds of other hikers. The Lewis and Clark student from California told family he planned to stay overnight in the Jefferson Wilderness on July 27th. His silver Mazda was found at the park entrance with no clues leading to his whereabouts. Riley was an experienced hiker according to the sheriff's office. He was carrying at least 4 days' worth of food, a water filtration device, and other outdoor equipment. Riley's disappearance is eerily similar to that of another young man who disappeared in that area as well. Just 4 years previous, 32-year-old Jake Dutton vanished while planning an overnight camping trip. His car was also found at the park's entrance. But we're not done yet. That same year, a 52-year-old hiker named Ronald Ulm disappeared in that area as well. And in 2007, a 63-year-old college professor named Daming Su failed to return from his hike. These are only a small fraction of cases that have been covered by the media, while many others have gone under the radar. I chose this case as number 1 due to the sheer number of missing hikers that have never been found despite extensive search and rescue efforts. And there you have it. 10 more of the strangest state and national park missing person cases out there. If there's a case you'd like to bring to my attention, please do so in the comments below or send me a message. Also, if there are any details you'd like to provide or update us about these cases, I'm sure we'd all appreciate that. Like an approaching storm, always be prepared for what may be heading your way. Expect the unexpected and never turn your back to sweet Mother Nature. Thanks for watching and subscribe for more videos.